Hi, I'm Lori Palatnik, the founding director of Momentum. We have brought over 20,000 women to Israel from 32 different countries in partnership with the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs. When the women were here, often on Friday night, we would host lone soldiers. These Jewish mothers haven't been mothering anybody for a week, and they were so thrilled to host them at their table. And we would always have one or two of them would get up, the soldiers, and to share like why they decided to be lone soldiers, what their parents thought, et cetera, et cetera. So one year, our son Zev was a lone soldier, and he got up to speak. And I had no idea what he was going to say. What did he say to these women? He said, no matter where we were in the world, no matter where we grew up, my parents always told us, this is not your home. Israel's your home. And all the women were like, oh, and I'm thinking, you got to be kidding. Because I used to say that all the time. And my kids, especially Zev, would roll their eyes. Ugh, Ima the Zionist, here she goes again. Ima, this is your dream, it's not our dream. What did I learn from that? They're listening. Even if they're rolling their eyes and you're talking to the back of their heads, my kids would watch me get up in the middle of the night to watch Nefesh B'Nefesh planes land in Israel with the new immigrants, and I would cry like a baby. I didn't grow up in a Zionist home. I didn't grow up anti-Zionist. I just grew up, like regular, Jewish, dreidel, Passover Seder kind of Jew. And it really wasn't until my early 20s when I first came to Israel, when I was backpacking around Europe, that I realized that there was something going on in this country. And I had all these feelings I never felt before. And so many of the women who land say, like, I feel like I'm home, but I've never been here before. How can that be? Because your soul is home. My husband always says, that cactus that somebody gets you and you put it on your windowsill and it's, like it grows like a centimeter every 3 years. That same cactus in Arizona is 8 feet tall. Why? Because it's in its home environment. So your soul can only get so big outside of the land of Israel. And when it comes to Israel, it's in its home environment and it can be 8 feet tall. So I read a book many years ago, and I'll recommend it to you. It's called To Dwell in the Palace. It was written many years ago. It's about the mitzvah of dwelling in the land of Israel. And I have to tell you, it had a big impact on me. And one thing it said in To Dwell in the Palace is if you can't be there now, because I married my husband, and we met here 34 years ago. Tonight is our 33rd wedding anniversary. And we thought we were going to live here forever, but God had other plans. And we were outside, in Canada, the United States, and in communities and doing good work. But I never gave up even for one day that I was going back, because it says to dwell in the palace. If you can't be there now, for whatever reason, and there are many reasons, but always be planning that's your finish line. That's where you're going. The finish line could come earlier or it could come later, but it always has to be there. My daughter, when she was dating the guy she ended up marrying, and it was very serious, and he told me the other day, like he remembers coming to our house for the first time in Rockville, Maryland, and our daughter gave him like a tour of the house, and she opened up the garage, and it was a big 3-car garage, but we never had cars in there because it was filled with boxes. It was filled with packing boxes. And because whenever I would get a box or a delivery, I would always take the thing out and I would put it in the garage. And our future son-in-law said, what's going on? Like, why are there so many boxes here? And our daughter said, it's because my parents are moving to Israel. He goes, really? When? She goes, they're always moving to Israel. Our son, Moshe, when he was at yeshiva, I remember him coming back to visit during one of the holidays, and he said, why are there so many of the dairy mugs? The handles are broken. I go, well, we use them all the time, and they break. He goes, well, why don't you just buy new mugs? I said, because we're moving to Israel. He said, you're always moving to Israel. I go, when the last mug breaks, we're out of here. So this was the messaging I always did. And what I want to say to all of you is that your country, wherever you live out there, like, it's very nice. And I lived in Canada, it's a very nice country. I lived in the United States, very nice country, lived in wonderful Jewish communities. But in the end, these countries, they don't really care if you come and go. In Israel, everybody counts. Everybody counts. Just your presence alone makes a difference. And anything you contribute upon that, on top of that, is incredible. That's bonus. So years ago, our oldest daughter, she was the first one to make Aliyah, because also it said, a friend of mine told me, if you can't be there now, send them ahead. So we always sent our kids like post high school to programs here, whether it was yeshiva or a seminary, or there's a million programs. Like I told a friend of mine who was concerned about her son after he graduated high school, I said, just get him to Israel for a gap year. Like it doesn't matter what, Hebrew U, like the army, like the yeshiva, it doesn't matter. Just get him there. And that really changed the course of his life. It really did. He ended up marrying an Israeli girl. He went into the army. He's a tour guide. He just had a baby. It's an amazing thing. So if you can't be there now, send them ahead. So our oldest daughter came first, and at one point she told she mentioned to my husband that she was planning like a really like discounted trip to Nepal on vacation. You get some really cheap tickets, in cool areas here in Israel. And she was flying through this crazy ticket. She was flying through Qatar, of all places. So she holds 3 passports. She was born in Canada, she was raised in the United States, and she made Aliyah. So she has 3 passports: Canada, United States, and Israel. And my husband asked her, like, what passport are you flying on? And we were surprised that she said Israeli, because we thought for sure Canada, okay? Because everybody likes Canadians. Canadians are so nice. Like no one ever hijacks a plane and says, okay, everybody leave except for the Canadians. She said Israel. And my husband asked why. She said, Abba, if God forbid there is an earthquake in Nepal while I'm there and I'm lost, Canada will fill out forms. The United States will call a meeting, and Israeli paratroopers will come in and get me. Can I tell you, it's not simple here. I'm not going to whitewash it for you. All right? There's definitely challenges here. I have a challenge with the language. Thankfully, my husband speaks Hebrew, and like languages are not my strength. I have other strengths. But everybody counts here, and everybody fits here. Whether you're on the left or you're on the right, or you're born Jewish or you became Jewish, or you're married to a Jew or you're not married to a Jew. It's like we're all one big crazy, crazy dysfunctional family, and we're all making it work together. Somehow it works. Why? Because you're home. And I invite you to be part of this incredible, crazy family and help us to make it an even greater, beautiful, prosperous, safe, joyous home. So if you can't be there now, plan ahead. Because if you don't know where you're going, God can't get you there. Can't wait to host you.